So this is my overview analysis of the tragedy of Othello. I titled it The Tragedy of Iago because half the play is centered around him as the protagonist of the play. So for the summary, this play it is by Shakespeare. It's set in Venice, Italy. In the beginning, a older war general has gone and eloped with a young white female. The general is black. His name is Othello. He is who the play is mainly centered around. But he has now gone and eloped with Desdemona, who is the daughter of Brabantio, a city council member, a higher up in society, and this has come to Brabantio's attention by Iago, who we will find out is now a major villain in the play, and the play is centered around Iago trying to get the position to which Othello has been appointed, and his jealousy and his wickedness is all centered around his jealousy and his wishes to make make Othello look bad. So the symbol, the quote comes from Act 3, Scene 3 by Amelia. "I'm glad I have found this napkin. This was her first remembrance from the Moor, but she so loves the token." And so this handkerchief symbolizes Othello and Desdemona's relationship and the strength and longevity of their marriage, and how long it's been passed down in Othello's family, and how now it resembles their marriage and their love for each other. The irony in this comes from the two simple words, honest Iago. And so everyone in the play thinks Iago is so honest and so trustworthy, but yet he's the least honest and he's the least trustworthy because he's such a master con artist, and yet no one knows that. And so Shakespeare uses this as dramatic irony in order to forward the momentum of the plot of the play. The next literary device we have is imagery, and the quote comes from "An old black ram tupping near white ewe" in Act 1, Scene 1. And this imagery is made to anger Brabantio in that the morality of the situation has been thrown out the window, so to speak, because Brabantio's sweet, innocent white ewe of a daughter, Desdemona, is being sexually harassed by this old black ram who is Othello, and so the innocence is being taken away from Desdemona. The metaphor comes from Act 1, Scene 3, in which Iago says, "Our bodies are our gardens, to which our wills are our gardeners." And here Shakespeare just wanted to emphasize how free will and gardening, or how free will compares to gardens and gardeners, and that a gardener can shape and mold and plant and uproot and change everything that they would like about the garden to make it look the way they want it to look. And so that's the same way our own free will can change us as human beings, and how it can allow us to be who we want to be and make the decisions we want to make and do the things we want to do. So next, with our different connections, the various connections, I connected Othello with the kite runner, in that Amir and Iago both had to sacrifice their relationships with others because of their jealousy, because Amir wanted to have the love from his father that Hassan had, and Iago wanted the position and the recognition and the reputation of a general that Othello had. And with the text to self, I personally relate to Desdemona not only because she is a female, but because she is an independent female in a society that does not want women to be independent, and that she did not care that she had a black husband, when they were seen as unclean and defiling. And so she didn't care about a reputation. She cared about the love that she had for this man, despite of the color of his skin and what other people thought about her. So I can relate to her, and that I always choose to see the good in people despite their skin color and despite who everyone else wants to think that they are. Now, my text to world comes from a Huffington Post article talking about how there are now interracial emojis and black emojis used on iPhones and various Android cell phones. And that I loved how society is now so accepting of interracial couples and who these people choose to be, in that society has now allowed for us to openly use a form of communication through emojis and pictures and texting and things like that, that we've allowed technology to accept what we have chosen to now accept in society. The setting of the book, the play is in Venice, Italy. It was written around 1500 to 1750, but the closest that we have known it to be is around 1603. Venice was just the pinnacle of civilization. It was a city of laws and a city of um, business and just structure. And yet there was an underground Venice that people often didn't see, which held numerous prostitutes and drunkards and people who were one way during the day and completely another during the night. So we see that in the character Cassio, and that he was so powerful and he was so noble, and yet he was a drunk, and he let alcohol take control of him. And so that's another side of the play that was very interesting to see. And the second half of the play was set in Cyprus. It was around the same time period of 1603 to 1700. But Cyprus was very agricultural. It was very integral in their own economy, and that they were very self-sufficient. A lot of the citizens there planted for themselves. They lived for themselves. There was a very open dynamic. There was more of a Muslim population there. They were Muslim Turks, to be specific, and they just lived very comfortably within themselves. They were very self-sufficient. And the picture on the right there is of ancient Venice. It is still alive and running today. Very few of the structures have been renovated. So this is very close to what Othello and Desdemona, the characters, would have been living in 1603. So some of my favorite quotes: reputation is an idle and a most false imposition, oft to go without merit, and lost without deserving. And so that's from Iago, Act 2, Scene 3. And the irony in this is that Iago has the most upbuilding and honest and open reputation, but yet he is the most defiling, and he is the most succumb to ruining his reputation because of all the lies and because of all the damage that he has caused between relationships between various people. So it's that the quote represents that reputation isn't everything. And so that's something that we fail to see every day as well. So another is to mourn a mischief that is past and is gone is the next way to draw new mischief on. From the Duke, a very minor character in the play, but the things he says are so meaningful. And this is just one of the small quotes that he says in the play. And it's basically just don't sweat the small things. what's in the past is in the past and we can't change it. So why lean on it and cause more problems in the future because we're stuck worrying on something that happened in the past. So that's just a life lesson that I think we need to learn in general, and the Duke points that out very, very well. And she loved me for the dangers I had passed, and I loved her that she did pity them. And I love this quote because it just personifies um, Desdemona and Othello's love so well, because Desdemona didn't care that Othello was a war-scarred general and that he was a tough, rigid man, and she was able to see past all of that and all the walls that he had and all the strength that he had, and she saw that the man inside of him was caring and gentle and loving, and so she was able to love him for the man that he was inside, and so he fell in love with her based on that love, that she was able to see past him as a war general and see him as who he was, as a loving and caring man. And the last one, oh, beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster which doth mock the meat it feeds on. Famous quote from Shakespeare, specifically coming from Act 3, Scene 3, stated by Iago, that the green-eyed monster is jealousy. The symbol of jealousy, of envy, is green, and Shakespeare has made that so prevalent even up to 2017, to today, how jealousy ruins people and how it ruins relationships and it ruins lives because it will destroy you. Jealousy is a monster. And so it's just one of my favorite quotes, and that it reminds me that jealousy is not going to improve anything. It's not going to make you better. It's not going to make the other person better. And we just have to focus on ourselves, because jealousy will never, ever improve anything. So the movie connected to this book was just amazing. We did watch it in class. It was very, very similar to the actual written play, and which I really enjoyed because it's not often that you find the movie so close to the play. Um, it was at the top of its charts, starring Lawrence Fishburne, um, very, very famous actor. And the soliloquies that Iago had throughout the movie that were, also in the book, they were enticing, and they were so real that you felt like you were speaking to Iago directly, and you saw inside of his brain. And so the movie, I think, was just amazing. It was so captivating, and so with it being within the top charts within 3 weeks, it was still today very intriguing, even being a 1995 film. So overall, Othello, it was a great play. It showed so many life lessons that everyone needs to learn, even someone who doesn't enjoy Shakespeare, who doesn't enjoy screenplays that much. But if someone is willing to learn about life and learn about how to cultivate relationships with others, and how racial biases are still existing, and how people today react when they don't get things that they want, it's so important to read something like this to show that there are still life lessons that we are learning today that new books, new modern literature does not point out. And so I love this play for that reason, that it shows so much about life and so much about human connections. But that was my overall analysis of Othello. I thank you so much and have a good night.